What is up, everyone? Welcome to the North Shore 9 Postgame Show, brought to you by Primanti Brothers. I'm Neil. With me is Doug. Doug, the Pirates lose another one. They lose 1-0 to the Texas Rangers. They lose 2-3 to the former World Series champions. Doug, how are we doing today?
Our normal default setting of, disgust, right? I mean, from the starting pitcher performed better than we thought, but he should have never been starting. The lineup, I mean, my God, come on. Connor Joe is, I think before the game, coming into the game, he was 3 of 41 his last time with runners in scoring position. And you're third. Was he batting third, batting fourth? Whatever. Way too high in the lineup. Just, I mean, if you want to lose, run out this lineup today. So, this is year 5 of a rebuild, and we are worse than we were in year 4. And year 4 was not exactly a rousing, success. So,
no, I mean, when you consider the last year's team was like pretty darn good after the deadline, it's not great to see this step back. But we'll get into it.
Yeah.
Before we go on, I just want to let you know that BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. From the preseason NFL to college kicking off, BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads when the games are being played. Think you know your stuff? Get on our winner-take-all $300,000 NFL Survivor pool for the upcoming season. And when the game is over, head on over to the online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today and use promo code BLEAV and get in on the action. Bet online, the game starts here. Yeah, so you mentioned the lineup. You mentioned how
I've got a little parlay. I got a little free parlay for everybody. Take the Pirates opponent and the under. And more often than not, you're gonna do pretty well.
Free money with our friends over there. Yeah,
you're welcome.
Well, I mean, during that losing streak, I think if you bet against the Pirates like every day for like that 10-game losing streak, you would have won like $300,000. It continues.
Yes,
but you brought up the lineup. You brought up that this team is worse than it was last year. I think we should talk about both of those today. But I guess the best place to start, unfortunately, because I don't want to talk about them, but we do have to talk about Domingo German's starter debut as a Pirate. He goes 6 innings, 3 hits, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, 0 runs. I could not believe my eyes. He was barely touching 90.
This is a guy with
0 answers.
Right. Yeah, he had a 5.29 ERA at Indianapolis, right? And did that today. It's right from the Pirates 2024 script. Get unexpected great pitching, right? Mm-hmm. It started out with Bailey Falter. It was Luis Ortiz for a while. Brad Woodford, what is that his name? Right? Quinn Priester had some good outings. I mean, all sorts of guys, and the Pirates have wasted most of them. Right? You've gotten some great pitching from places, and that's not even counting our 2 outstanding rookies, and just wasted because with bases loaded, you have Connor Joe coming up. It's just it's a terrible lineup because we have a terrible roster, and it's because we haven't ever, we have the same questions that we had at the start of this regime. Who's second base? Who's first base? Who's center field? 5 years later, still don't know. Right? I still don't know.
I mean, it really, if you could sum up the Pirates 2024 season, it is wasting really good starting pitching. I think you can correct me if I'm wrong. We lost that like 7 innings of Jake Woodford, didn't we? Like where he went 1 earned run or something like that. We lost that game too.
Yeah.
You needed a gem for Mitch Keller last night to beat the Rangers. Like, this offense really is. I don't know how they live with themselves this year, to be honest, because this is a bad. You got 6 innings, like you said, from a guy with an ERA over 5 in Indianapolis. He doesn't give up a single run, and you can't score a single run off of Andrew Heaney.
Yeah, exactly. The Texas Rangers weren't exactly rolling out Max Scherzer in his prime. This was Andrew Heaney, right? And they didn't stand a chance.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't stand a chance. It's just, and I mean, a lot of it is just that we have bad hitters, but some of it's philosophical. I mean, they're just not aggressive. They're so often taking that third called strike, and I get it. They're borderline calls, but apparently the Pirates don't know this, but the rest of us know. Umpiring has been terrible this year. If it's close and you've got 2 strikes, you better at least try to waste it, foul it off, do something, but not just stand there and look and expect to get the ball call, because that's not happening. Hasn't happened for any of the teams. It hasn't happened for several years now. I mean, but the Pirates faithfully stand there and, expecting that ball call. They're like the kid in Bad News Bears, afraid to swing the bat. It's just, I mean, I know that when they swing the bat, they're not much better, but man, it's just so frustrating to watch called third strike after called third strike from guys that aren't very good hitters in the first place.
No, I mean, we are a very passive team when it comes to hitting. And I wanted to check this. This is only the 3rd time this year Andrew Heaney has struck out more than 7 batters. This is the 3rd time he's struck out at least 8.
He had
5 innings. Like he looked
early really, on. He had like 17 swings and misses.
22 swings and misses from Andrew Heaney today.
Yeah. And it was, I mean, real early on, he was at like 17 or 19. It's like, oh my, I mean, again, what the Pirates here, they've turned journeyman pitchers, guys trying to come back, guys who have had 3 consecutive bad years, guys coming back from injury, and they've turned them into Cy Young. And they've done it again and again and again. The organization top to bottom is passive, right? It's everything from their passive hitting approach to their passive approach to the roster. It's just so frustrating. It's one thing when you feel like your team is fighting and they're, and I'm not saying that these players aren't trying hard, but just the way the Pirates approach things, the way it doesn't look like they are. It looks like they just stand there with the bat on their shoulder, walk back, say something over shoulder to the ump and walk back shaking their head. It's terrible to watch. You know what I'm saying? It's more frustrating than I think if they were up there just hacking away. And I imagine if they, and they are hacking away to a point because how many 16 strikeouts today? Unbelievable.
Well, it's interesting.
How many guys have set their personal strikeout record this year playing the Pirates? It's been more than one.
It's a good question. I mean, it's hard. Because, the players aren't very good. Even though, I don't think any of us like Andy Haynes, and I certainly don't like Andy Haynes. I mean, we just employ a lot of bad hitters on this team. But to your point, we put 10 guys on base. We put 10 guys on base today. We had 6 different at bats with the bases, with runners in scoring position, and we didn't do a single thing with it.
Right.
And, I don't even know that's approach.
You could have won this game with 2 runs. Right? Yeah. You could have won this game with 2 runs. Now, we didn't need a huge offensive explosion. You got a miracle from the pitching again. And with 2 runs, you could have won this game and probably felt pretty comfortable until the 9th inning.
So, yeah, and let's just kind of go through the game on this. So, I mean, we'll talk. I'll do a little bit more about Herman just because he's pretty much the one positive we have from today, besides Brian Reynolds, I think. But I mean, Herman.
I got a little love for Kyle Nicholas too.
Yeah, Nicholas is good too. I mean, Herman was working a really, really nice curveball changeup mix that had the Rangers hitters very frustrated. Very effective over 6 innings. He got 11 whiffs, 10 from breaking pitches. He got a 30% whiff rate on his pitches. Like his breaking stuff was pretty good to where it didn't matter that his fastball was kind of mediocre today. Like he was just throwing a change up and the Rangers couldn't really do anything about it. I don't know what you noticed from him, but
yeah, he had kept guys off balance. No, he just kept guys off balance. He never looked good or dominant, right? He was always on the verge of walking somebody. He was always on the, it was not what you would look at and say, oh, that was a dominant looking performance, but the results were great. And when you get 6 shutout innings from some rando that you pluck out of the minors, you have to win those games. You have to. And for the 15th time this year, the Pirates did not, and it's the difference in their season, not being able to score 2 runs. I'm not asking for the 4 that it takes to, I'm asking for 2 runs, and you put guys all over the base paths, and then you would look and see who's coming up, and you're like, oh yeah, I know he's going to strike out. I know he's going to ground into a double play. I know he's going to weakly, and it was not hard. You said before we come on, the most predictable outing, right? I mean, you
none of us were surprised
this game is turning out as we're going to. Yes. Yeah, no one's going, oh my God, I can't believe that happened.
So we'll talk a little about the offense because we did litter the base paths and 2 times within the first 5 innings. One time in the top of the 2nd and one time in the top of the 5th. We load the bases. The first time around, we have the bases loaded with 1 out. My favorite player in the world, Yasmani Grandal, comes up and grounds into a double play. And Yasmani Grandal is not beating out any ground ball. It's just
and they beat him by 15 steps, right?
Yeah. So it sucks in the fact that Grandal had 2 hits today. It really just the situation is needing to get hits when it matters is big. And then not a whole lot happens. You do get a Brian Reynolds double. Right. He'd been struggling. He looked a lot better today, I think. Got two hits, got a ground rule double and a single. And top of the 5th, Yasmani Grandal singles, then 2 outs, then Reynolds singles, then Joey Bart gets hit by a pitch. And then if we're going to talk about manager issues, I don't think there's a whole lot that Shelton had to do today, but I don't want to see Connor Joe in cleanup anymore because Connor Joe comes up with the bases loaded and 2 outs in the top of the 5th. You've just gotten a really good start from Domingo German. Connor Joe hasn't been hitting for 3 months. He predictably strikes out. I don't know if it's because I don't know if it's because Shelton does things where he wants to keep other players in the lineup. He says, "Oh, Tellez hits cleanup now. Joe hits cleanup when he plays first base," but you got to stop it. It's got to stop.
I think Haney has reverse splits anyway. So if you're looking at the analytics, right, it should have been Tellez. And I'm telling you, I know. I mean, O'Neal Cruz has been hitting lefties really well lately. I'd much rather see him 3rd or 4th, and maybe bat him 3rd with Joey Bart behind him, where he has a little protection, and you might get some production from that spot. Yeah. But you've got Connor Joe, who like you said, has been struggling, since his hot start, where we all got a little excited about him. He's been awful since, I don't know, June, sometime in May, maybe. He's just awful. He's not hitting lefties. He's not hitting righties. He really shouldn't be on the roster. All right, and certainly not on, where he's ever. And again, this has to be on Shelton. He should never, at this point, the way he's playing, be batting cleanup.
Yeah,
Should not. I
100%
know, it's right. I mean, it's kind of the same stuff we would say about Hayes quite a bit. Like, hey, all right, if you're going to play him, let him bat 8th. I mean, if you like, this is the roster you have and you've got to use him, sure. But why in the world is he in the middle of the lineup? When, again, I know coming into the game, he was 3 for 41 his last, with runners in scoring position. That's 100%. Not very good. And that's certainly not a middle of the lineup order, right? Yeah, my math isn't great, but 3 for 41 seems bad.
And it really sucks because Cruz gets on twice today. Cruz gets a hit and a walk. I think both off of lefties. Like he and like as Denaro says here in the chat, like the best baseball since versus lefties since July 1st. Like he hasn't been given that many at bats versus lefties, but when he has, he's been delivering. And so, yeah, I mean, when Connor Joe is a free out,
I've been talking about it for a while. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like, he's like a pitcher hitting right now. It's like we've lost our DH and we're batting a pitcher again. I've been talking about this for a while. An old expression, a foolish consistency, and that's what the Pirates seem to have. It's like, well, he's our first baseman, and maybe if we're going to pinch hit Rowdy, we weren't right. No, this guy should not be batting cleanup. And it cost you today. And I don't know what would have happened if someone else would have been batting there. I do know what would happen when Connor Joe was there. And it was a predictable strikeout. And I mean,
that was his third strikeout.
Right. I agree that we don't have very good players.
Yeah.
That was his third. We don't have very good players, but we're certainly not putting them in any position. Yeah.
I mean,
he was he was hapless today. He was.
Yeah. But he's been hapless for a while. And like the biggest problem here, though, is that when you go down the players who were in this lineup today, you got De La Cruz, Triolo, Grandal, and Michael A. Taylor. Besides O'Neal Cruz, and maybe if you really want to stretch it, Brian De La Cruz, there's not a whole lot better in the lineup than Connor Joe, which is a huge problem because when we go down tell us.
We're right. And that gets to the core problem is this roster is terrible.
Yeah. I mean, and like when you go down the lineup, like De La Cruz, 1 hit, 3 shot an error, 2 strikeouts. Cruz, 1 for 3 with a walk and a strikeout. Jared Triolo, 0 for 3 with a walk. Grandal, 2 for 4 with a double play. Michael A. Taylor, 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. So like
it's a bunch of guys with an OPS of 500. I mean, they're not. There's times they have been made, Grandal was good at one point. Michael A. Taylor had his moments. They're not good. Triolo had a fluky thing last year with his BABIP. But I mean, again, we knew it was fluky, right? We every time someone said Triolo's the answer at second base next year, we're like, nah, he hit 400, over 400 batting average balls at play. It's not sustainable. And certainly it's not. For whatever he did to please the baseball gods and the BABIP gods last year, he has angered them. So they're exacting their revenge. Things do balance out. The regression to the mean has been harsh. And again, it gets frustrating when, I don't know that Cook is any good. I don't know that York is any good. I do know that they have to be added to the 40-man roster. So why not now? I'm so tired of watching Bay get on base and not be able to steal because he has no idea how to utilize the speed.
He stole a base today. He did steal a base today.
Yeah, he did.
But I agree. Bay should be nowhere near this roster. Neither should Grandal.
Bay, Triolo, Taylor, Grandal.
This leads into the problem where I just feel like, and I think we made this joke last year for different reasons, but we had made the joke last year about how we could just pre-record the show because we already knew it was going to happen. Like I feel like we've had this discussion
this was
dozens of times.
This could have been easily one of our late April, early May shows where we talked about great pitching and no offense. Yeah. We've had this conversation. It's hard to, and I apologize to those of you watching. It's hard to bring original thought to something we've talked about, 110 times this year, So It's like, all right, let's all just hold hands and chant, right? It's time for Ben Cherington to be fired. It's time for Derek Shelton to be fired. It's time to get some hitters in this lineup. And I know this post-game show, we're supposed to be talking about the game, but it's hard to talk about the game when it's the same issues. And we haven't even got to David Bednar yet.
Yeah. I mean, and it really just sucks because when you just don't get this good pitching on a whim. Like we're seeing this with the Seattle Mariners too, where we're both as teams just wasting amazing starting pitching. And people have said, like the national media said, like if this team got to a playoff spot, it would be really scary because you have to go up against a three-headed monster with the rotation. You could stick your back end guys like Luis Ortiz could be in the bullpen, do that 2-inning role. He's really good at.
Bailey Falk, right?
Like it would be a really daunting challenge to face this Pirates team in the playoffs, and instead we're 8 games under 500 after buying at the deadline. It's
And if you feel if some sort of fluky thing happened and they made it to playoffs, they'd lose all the games 1-0. It's such a it really is like what the Pirates probably won't get pitching like this next year. Even though we're still going to have Skeens, we're still going to have Jared Jones, we're still going to have Keller, and we might have Burrows or Oviedo or Ashcraft or Bubba or Harrington. This kind of just miracles do not repeat themselves, right? We've seen Paul Skeens and Jared Jones have both come back to the pack a little. They're still fantastic, but they're not quite as dominant as they were their first dozen starts or so. You can't just keep expecting to pluck Woodfords and Hermans and Priesters and getting 6 shutout innings. Ortiz, who, we'd sort of given up on Ortiz and he'd come through a bunch of games. It's just wasteful. And on top of that, the whole league is excited about Paul Skeens. And listen, I go to the gym now and wear a Pirates shirt. For years, no one's ever said anything to where I wear a Pirate shirt. Now people are coming up and saying, "Hey, what do you think about Paul Skeens?" They have this opportunity right in front of them, and they've just wasted it. Next year they might not be as national media might not be as excited about Skeens. You've got this sort of once in a lifetime opportunity, and then you're getting this fantastic pitching, and you're muddling along with Connor Joe, Yasmani Grandal, Michael Taylor, Jared Triolo, G1 Bay, Jack Sawinski. It's not one bad hitter. It's not like, hey, we have to hide this one guy. No. You have to hide 6 guys, and it's absurd. It's frustrating. It's a baseball sin what they're doing.
2 things. Like it's why I don't really get terribly frustrated with Shelton with his pinch hitting and when he doesn't pinch hit, because when you have to shield 6 guys in a lineup, that's a big problem. But my big thing is I don't know if they have 3. We saw at the beginning of this year how many guys went down with Tommy John surgery. You're not guaranteed all 3 of our top guys stay healthy. You're not even guaranteed Bubba Chandler stays healthy when he debuts.
Right.
And so
that's exactly it.
It sucks. And
right. We saw what happened with Oviedo, right? Yeah. Shoot, our catchers get Tommy John surgery for
Yeah. But which also leads us into what is also squandering our starting pitching, which is our bullpen, and specifically 2 guys who were supposed to be our best guys. But first, Kyle Nicholas looked really good. I know you mentioned him earlier. I thought Kyle Nicholas looked excellent. 2 strikeouts in his 1 inning. He made Wyatt Lanford and Travis Jankowski look silly. Like it was really funny to watch. And then we had another.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it was such a juxtaposition to what Herman was doing. Herman was keeping guys off balance, and then Nicholas just comes in and blows people away. It just goes right after him, and just fearless approach. It was so great, to see what he's developed into from where he started, from when he first came up last year. I'm getting more and more confidence in him in every day. But again, he's a Pirate relief pitcher, and I don't trust, what we do with our, it's like they have these stretches of just dominance, and then it just goes away. So
Kyle Nicholas's dominance has been long enough where I feel like it's real. He's gonna have his struggles, like every pick, but I genuinely feel like with how the team is currently constructed, he's now vying for your eighth and ninth inning spot next year because Chapman's gone. Chapman had another Chapman-like inning. He has been Mr. Consistent. Now I'll pose this because I've seen this a lot in our comments, and I don't know if it'll work, but what do you think about sending Chapman out for 2 innings when he comes out? I am dubious. I don't know if he can. We've seen his wild changes in velocity where, like, I don't know if he can, like, sustain that velocity for 2 innings or the control for that matter, because we've seen what happens when he loses control. But I don't know what you think about it.
Right. Yeah. I'm not sure. Again, if he goes 9 pitches, right? If he has one of those quick innings where he gets them out in 7 or 8 pitches, I wouldn't mind giving it a shot. It's better than the next option that we've been using. I mean, at this point, I wouldn't mind seeing Nicholas in the 8th and Chapman in the 9th, and Bednar in situations where 1 run won't kill you, because it's not comfortable with Bednar coming in having to protect a 1-run lead. Or in a tie situation, you just can't count on him now. I understand how these players, their confidence gets hurt, or they're used to their roles and they don't pitch as well. We're getting to the point where that's too bad. We love you, David Bednar. You drink icy lights. All that's great. You're not pitching well. And we're certainly not reliable. And it might be time to use him again, use him as a closer when it's a 3-run lead. Use him as a closer when we're up 7-2 and they load the bases and stuff like that, where you can afford to let him, give up a hit or two, because he definitely seems to be consistently giving up a run now. And, if he comes in and blows everybody away, fantastic. But until you see, 3 or 4 good outings in a row, I'd much rather see Chapman in the 9th. I'd rather see Nicholas in the 9th. And I don't know if he's ready for that yet, but again, put him in the 8th. And I think you got some of these other guys coming back. Majinski and Barucki and Holderman have all started rehab, so maybe we can get someone back to help up. Bring up one of the kids. I don't care. Bring up Michael Burrows. But counting on David Bednar at this point, when wins are, at a premium, we desperately need. And I don't mean to contend or anything like that. Just to finish with, not a 95 loss season at this point. We're in danger of having, this having been an awful season. So you got to try to win every game, and the Pirates have never really done that during this era, the Ben Cherington era. That's never seemed to have been a big priority. So,
I mean, there's a couple things, because I disagree that I think they're trying to win, but I think that's what makes it worse. I genuinely feel like that this year they were really, really trying to win. And if you talk to us like in April, that we'd be discussing Bednar and Holderman like this, I don't think anyone would. I don't think everyone would call you insane.
Right.
And it sucks. Because
I did say trade Bednar in the offseason last year.
You did, and I was actually I was okay with trading Bednar. I think it made sense. I didn't expect this, but you're not going to win many games when the back end of your bullpen is this bad. So, in Bednar's last 9 appearances since July 29, so basically the deadline is that Houston series. He's given up runs in 7 of his 9 appearances. And for your 2-time All-Star closer, that's not going to play. He doesn't miss bats anymore. His control is bad. Now, to be entirely fair to him, I don't really blame him for this 9th inning all that much. I think that Isaiah Kiner-Falefa has to field that ball from Jonah Heim. I think that's an out. And I think there's zero reason Brian Reynolds doesn't catch that ball from Adolis Garcia. With how much time that ball lofted up in the air, I genuinely believe those should have been 2 outs. And they just weren't. But with that said,
that's fair.
With that said, so I don't really want to blame Bednar tonight just because I don't think he was that bad. I think he got the 3 outs. But this is a pattern. And he cannot stay clean. He cannot not give up runs. But it really sucks because the 3 hits he gave up, 89.9 miles an hour off the bat, 88.2 off the bat, and the walk-off single was 82.1. Those should be outs. And it really, really sucks. And when the rains, it pours. But as bad as Bednar has been, I think this was horribly unlucky for him. But that said, I think you're right. You can't persist with him as closer. I don't think you can keep doing it because he doesn't have it.
Yeah, not in a one-run situation. That's all, right? Yeah, and I mean, you have to take that into consideration. We're not a good defensive team. We don't make the basic play. So that has to come into your math.
Yeah. I think Jaime Falefa is the defense guy. Like that is big thing. Is that
I know that's tough. He's the best defender we have right now.
I do understand where you're coming from. There. Brian Reynolds is not a good defender in left field.
Right.
But I mean, the problem is who replaces Bednar? If you go to Chapman closing, Nicholas in the 8th, I got that. Then you got to backfill with guys like Stratton. Then you got to backfill with guys like Beeks. Baracki's rehabbing, I guess. But I mean, man,
it's not pretty.
Do those guys really inspire confidence either?
No. I mean, what it comes down to again is the roster. You don't have great options. I know people get mad at us for saying we're defending Shelton. I don't ever feel like I'm defending Shelton, but there's not a lot of great choices.
It's only me.
You can argue.
I'm the last bastion of defense here, but
you're the last man on that hill. That's the hill you've chosen.
I think I jumped on Shelton first today. I was the one who was yelling about him for batting Joe Force. But no, I mean, the roster's not good, and losing Moretta, we knew it was going to suck losing Moretta and Baracki all year, but I think we didn't quite realize just how bad it was losing these 2 guys.
Just how much, I mean, I was saying early on that this bullpen is missing them, and that was when it was the middle relief. Like the last 3 guys were okay, but it was the God, I can't even remember, Ryan Riders and some of the guys that we've
Dalton Jeffries.
The dude, Honeywell, Dalton Jeffries, some of these nameless, faceless dudes that we've run through here that have now gone on to other teams and have pitched like all-stars. But that's a
Honeywell just got DFA'd by the Dodgers.
The Dodgers just let him go. Exactly. So it comes down to, I mean, the biggest problem with this team is the roster, right? It's the roster's not being used as effectively as we'd like it, definitely. And I'll say it again, I'm on board with firing everybody, and hope they fire everybody.
I would keep but besides that, I agree.
I mean, he did. Yeah, I mean, right. I won't be upset, but but that's fine. I mean, keep him, but if the other guy wants to bring his guy in, I'm not mad. I'm not gonna be too upset about that either. But Marina's done a good job. I mean, you can't argue. But still, sometimes I wonder. I think Mitch Keller, fixed himself more than or Tread. I think Paul Skeens was Paul Skeens. But you have to give him some credit for Jared Jones and a lot of these guys that he's done good work. But
I think he's done a good job.
With I mean,
but I get what you mean. But it's a roster problem.
I mean, it's
in terms of helping the bullpen. I think David says I've been Braxton Ashcroft's been getting hurt. He's over his innings limit. for the season, like his career innings. I think he's already surpassed that. Let him come up. It doesn't matter anymore. Even if he sucks, who cares? Let him come up. Let him get some bullpen innings. Let's see what we have. Like, because he doesn't necessarily guarantee to be a starter. I want to see Ashcraft. I wouldn't want to see Chandler just because I want to see him keep developing because he is young. Like Chandler is very young as a pitcher, so I want to see him in AAA. But I want to see Ashcraft up, and I think you said earlier Cook should be up, even though Billy McKinney is hitting 500 for us.
Look, there's still plenty of room. You can keep Billy McKinney up and bring Billy Cook up because guess what? You can send down G1 Bay. You can send down Jared Triolo. You can DFA Michael A. Taylor. It's not like, oh gosh, who are we going to bring up and replace, with Billy Cook? I mean, there's 5 guys that you could easily get rid of and Billy Cook will be at least as bad as, and maybe better. I wouldn't mind seeing Michael Burrows come up and be in the bullpen. If you bring up Bubba Chandler, put him on the 40-man, I understand why you don't want to do that yet. And like you said, he's let him pitch AAA. Maybe they'll handle him like they did Jared Jones last year, and he'll start the year on the opening day roster. None of us saw that coming. So who knows? But yeah, there are definitely people that you could bring up that at least would make the team more interesting, would at least give us a better, post-game show to talk about. At least we could talk about Ashcraft instead of, some of these guys. I don't want to talk about G1 Bay again. I don't want to talk about Yasmani Grandal again. I'd rather talk about Henry Davis coming up here struggling again and saying, well, we're getting more and more answers.
I'd rather see Davis struggle than Grandal. I'd rather see York. Play the youth. I mean, I try not to get too critical of these because we just don't have that much info on either what they're trying to do with these guys or what they're what the underlying. Because unless you're our good friends like Anthony Murphy or Nola Jeffrey, who are awesome guys, support their stuff. Like we don't sit down and watch all the minor league games. We don't have that data, and so I don't want to be too critical. But yeah, I would like to see some new blood. I would like to see some new blood, but
I was saying that, I'd rather seen Gorski than Bay, and not that I think Gorski's any kind of answer. Right. At one point I was saying just bring up Jake Lamb when Tellez was not hitting. It's just like when it's going this badly. Look, G1 Bay cannot play baseball. He's a phenomenal athlete with great speed. He can't play baseball. He doesn't have any of he's not refined his game. The Pirates have had him in their minor league system now for quite a while, and he's not a baseball player. Let's move on. Let's just move on. If you think he's got some value, try to trade him to someone who thinks they could develop him, because we certainly haven't been able to. He is clueless on the bases he's ever been. He's clueless with his routes as he's ever been. He can't play in the infield. Let's just move on and bring up Billy Cook, who we at least think can play some center field, right? So again, you traded for him. What are you saving him for next year? I mean, what's the point in that? Let's give him 6 weeks. Give him 6 weeks in the majors.
Yeah. Sorry, I was saying we don't even trust our big one acquisition for us. So it's just bad out here.
Right, exactly. But I'm saying, I would like to see Billy Cook get 6 weeks where he plays 5 games a week, get a sense of what he can do. Right. Yeah. Let him get a sense of what the major league's like, because it's obviously a dramatic gap between AAA and Major League Baseball. But instead, we're going to continue to play, a bunch of guys that are hitting sub 200 with 500 OPS, who are providing nothing, and they're not playing good defense either.
Yeah. Definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results.
Yeah.
But we are 39 minutes into
and we have been
a 1-0 loss.
1-0 bad game. Yeah.
It was terrible today.
I apologize.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about the game? Do you want to talk about? Do you want anything else you want to talk about, or do you want to get out of here?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. We covered. We covered the no offense. Herman was fine, was great. Nicholas was great. Bednar was not. The offense was not. Fire Ben Charrington. Let's go, Bucks.
Let's go. Tomorrow we get Paul Skeens versus Nick Lodolo, so it's Paul Skeens Day. As the Pirates come back to PNC Park from their quick excursion to Texas. That is at 6:40 tomorrow. So
that means we get
Skeens
Grandal.
Yeah. It is what it is. Thank you all for tuning in. Please hit the subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Join a Discord if you want to follow along with us when you watch the games. But besides that, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you later. Have a good night, and let's go Bucks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.
Good show.
See any good movies?